We are back. Is It Time Football is back for another episode about the footballing world. And today we've decided to go on quite a precise subject, quite a precise club. And we're gonna ask. Well, yes. I mean, you can see what I'm wearing here,
Yeah.
and I think we have to ask a specific question, and that question is, I guess the best way to formulate it is with this: is it time to expect Liverpool to win the quadruple?
Madness.
We love posing questions on this podcast, and we love to discuss them, and we love to answer them, and we feel that this is relevant at this point after the Carabao Cup win on Sunday.
Yep.
And there's it's hard to not get ahead of ourselves as Liverpool fans at this point. It's quite hard.
The smile on your face, you're just.
I mean, yeah, absolutely loving it. I wasn't expecting this at the beginning of the season, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough.
I was not expecting us to be in the fight for the Prem at all.
Mm.
The Cups are always a good tournament for Liverpool because they have that consistency, and then the youth has pulled through quite a bit in recent times.
Kids.
So yeah, they've been better than expected, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to discuss in terms of how far this team can go in all four. Well, they've already won one, but the three remaining ones, and then eventually possibly winning the 4 trophies and beating the record of the quadruple.
Crazy.
So I'd like to hear what you have to say about the Carabao Cup Final to start off, just to get going on that.
Well, I mean, I think Gary Neville might have said about Klopp's kids beating the billion pound bottle drops.
That's such a brilliant quote from Gary Neville. That's such a brilliant quote.
Just like
I mean, Chelsea. We've talked quite enough about Chelsea before. But
are you still not pot shots? I'm just saying. I think that game.
I mean, I'm starting to change my mind. Obviously, I still think that it's hard. It would be harder for them to get a new manager at this point of the season, and there's not much available apart from Jose. But I think people are gonna obviously see this as a huge bottle job from Chelsea. Mm-hmm. Looking at the team lineups and looking at some of the chances Chelsea had in the game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking notoriously Conor Gallagher's chance or Cole Palmer's chance. Awesome. I still think Liverpool managed to master the game pretty well, despite the youth later on in the game that was on there, which was impressive.
No, I completely agree. I want to be clear. Like, no, I like all jokes aside with the quotes. Taking nothing away from Liverpool deserved it on the whole. I felt in the 90 minutes it was overall balanced because I thought Chelsea had.
I agree.
In some ways, Chelsea had some of the better chances, but Liverpool, especially like for large parts of the game, also had let's not forget the disallowed offside goal, Van Dijk's goal, but also just moreover just like had consistent pressure. In the extra time though, I thought you guys bossed Chelsea, and I thought when I look at the Carabao Cup Final, I thought what that game demonstrated is what's been happening in Liverpool so many times this season, which is so impressive, is it's really good game management from Klopp. I think that's
it is.
I really find remarkable. I always tell you that I always see for Liverpool, especially their second halves tend to be better than their first halves. And that's a trademark of Klopp being a very reactive and proactive manager. He sees how it struggles in the first half, he tries to adapt. And extra time, I thought he did brilliantly, and he really is a manager that maximizes, these players like McConnell and Clark and Dans, of course, promised youth that came on, but nowhere near the else. And I thought he made them play with just even like a pure passion kind of aspect, that drive, and that's something that just like Klopp can instill. I think that not many other managers can do. So, yeah, it's.
I mean, a lot of people have always said that if you're comparing Pep to Klopp,
Mm,
I feel like it's hard to compare them because they're both very different styles
yeah.
and they take on very different teams. But a lot of people say that Klopp could do what Pep has done, but Pep could not do what Klopp has done.
Yeah. And I think
I find that's hard to argue. That's hard to argue. But when you see the way this game was managed and you see the players that were brought in and still managing to control the game with the passion, with the vivacity, and
yeah,
then eventually getting the win, keeping their heads up,
definitely.
that sums up Klopp football.
100%.
It really does. It really does. So, it's a very positive final for me as a Liverpool fan.
For sure.
It was stressful for sure.
I can imagine.
I don't think it was dominant in any way,
No, no.
but it did show a good character to go into the rest of the season, and it's something that Liverpool is going to need going forward, especially in the FA Cup. I think Premier League is going to be more about consistency.
Yeah, agreed.
And I mean, the Europa League, I think, is also about consistency more than about passion, because if you're looking at most of the teams that are remaining in the Europa League, it's quite manageable for Liverpool in many ways.
Shall we head to the FA Cup though? The discussion of the FA Cup first, or would
You know what? Yeah, let's do the FA Cup actually, because let's keep to English football for the first three, and then go into the Europa League to end it off. I mean, the FA Cup,
yeah.
good win last time out.
Yeah,
3-0. Youth pulling through yet again.
definitely.
And so, yeah, it's just kind of the same. It's just kind of the same script for the last 2 weeks. Is the youth is coming through like crazy for Liverpool. Jadon Danns, ever since getting his debut and since really breaking into that first team and getting those first team minutes, has really pulled through.
Definitely.
And at a time where Mo Salah's injured, Nunez is injured here and there.
Yeah.
Thiago again is out for the remainder of the season, most likely, which is tough to see. But it's crazy how some of these young guns have pulled through. Connor Bradley's another one who's really pulled through.
Fantastic. He's just sublime. He's so good.
It's hard to say that it's as if Trent isn't there anymore, because Trent is still, for me, the face of Liverpool at the moment, apart from maybe Mo Salah. But Connor Bradley's been really impressive since joining the starting lineup. Really has. So in that Southampton game, which is a game obviously Liverpool should be winning, it's just positive in many ways.
I think look, I know the FA Cup won a event. I mean, third round was not very good Arsenal, so that was a really then afterwards it's Norwich and Southampton, where impressive championship sides, but you expected to beat them. I think now it's gonna be interesting though, because in your quarterfinal now you're gonna have United away. After that will be very fascinating. I think candidly this FA Cup will come down to either you or Man City. And I think that's what's going to be fun, if that makes sense.
I mean, United away is as much as United hasn't been United in recent times, it's never an easy game. And
sorry, go on.
I am a bit worried what I am worried about with Liverpool at times this season is that they allow too much opportunity to have an even game for other teams. And if another team has a lucky day, then it could turn out badly. It could.
I get that, but I also look at Liverpool. It's like they've only had 2 losses this year.
It's tough to say what I'm saying because the results prove otherwise.
Right. I think here's the thing. My only concern with Liverpool, and this will get into for all the competitions, is just the injuries that they have.
Hmm.
The amount of
Yeah.
players out, because that's the only thing. Because if you have a full strength team, I would probably back you in basically all these competitions. So I have to take into account the injuries.
Hmm.
That being said,
Yeah.
I look at this Liverpool team and I see that I do agree that they many times let the games be closer than they should be in some respects. I agree, but I
Hmm.
but I also look at this Liverpool team and I think they have a real consistent ability for getting the job done, and that means like at least getting a tie, even when they're not
Hmm.
playing at their best, and even when they enable a lot of chances to come their way. And
Yeah.
that's a sign of champions in my view. I always say this, and I'll always use the example of like fans for World Cups or stuff, but it's like you don't have to be playing amazing football every single game. It's
No, no.
what I find
It's
the mark of a champion is when you're playing at like semi-good level than you normally are, you still get the win or you still get a positive result of like a point or something. That's the thing. And I think in this FA Cup setting, I know United, I know it can be definitely tricky, and I get that. I actually think the fact that this is in a weird way in Old Trafford benefits Liverpool, because I think United have been worse this season at Old Trafford than away from home. I think
Yes, they have. Mhm.
they have like more pressure on them. So I do generally think for the FA Cup it's between you guys or Man City. Um,
City's on a tear right now.
yeah, that's the problem.
Um, it's always tough against City, mate.
Mhm.
And if there's one person I would not want to end up against in a semi-final or final, it's probably City. Even though I find that City isn't the greatest in terms of finals,
Mm.
I still don't want to end up against them. I really don't. I'd much prefer to end up against, say, a United or someone of the sort.
Agreed.
But yeah, to go on again with my point of I guess the giving teams too many opportunities. If you look at the last game,
Yeah.
uh, 3-0 win against Southampton in the FA Cup.
Mhm.
If you look at the stats in terms of possession, passing, and pass accuracy, very similar between the two teams.
I
You
see.
know, it was a 53 possession for Liverpool, 47 for Southampton.
Mhm.
Look at the pass accuracy; it was 88 for Southampton and 90 for Liverpool. So Liverpool is allowing quite a high passing accuracy
Right.
against a second division side, which for me is slightly, you know, worrying looking at that, because I feel like we should definitely be dominating that game much more in terms of
I agree.
the pressing. But then again, it's all about finishing on the right terms and also doing something good with the possession.
Right.
So, so for me, I feel like I'm just trying to find excuses as to why we would lose in the future, because like I'm just that type of person. I prefer to be pessimistic than optimistic.
Right.
Um, so I think going forward, definitely United is going to be a tough game, but
Mhm.
I'm hoping that we can pull through with that.
Right.
It really does depend on the final, who, like, if we manage to get there, who we end up against. I say we have all the chances in the world in cup tournaments,
Right.
whereas the Premier League is a different story.
Definitely. Uh, well, do we want to transition to Premier League then, or are we going to make our?
Yeah, I think I've said enough about FA Cup. I think you have as well. No.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say though is I think one thing that will benefit. Look, I'm looking at the teams that are left in the FA Cup, and I think what will advantage you is when you play Man. Like I do think you beat United. So the question is when you play Man City. If you play Man City in the semis, I actually think you lose that. If you play in the final, I think you actually win that. I think that's what it depends on, if I'm honest.
Why would you think that we lose in the semis and not the final?
I think in the final, Pep has the tendency, to overthink finals, and I think when I look at this City team compared to last season's trouble-winning team, this City team are very vulnerable defensively. Not like insane amounts, but like they're more than last season. There's not that much assuredness. And I think in a final, when the pressure's on and Klopp, in my view, actually in some ways is better game management than Pep. I'd probably give it less. I think Pep has more again like that long term stability, being like, you know, he'll be like, yeah, I think if it's in the semis, that'll be more like a thing where Pep will be like, you know what, it's like part of the long term thing of the FA Cup rather than like a one off game mindset. If it's a one off game mindset, Klopp looks at, so that comes more into play in the final. So that's where I leave it at. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's like I've said before,
Yeah. A lot.
City is the worst person you could end up against.
I agree.
I'm not. I think it's a 50-50 whenever you go up against them with Liverpool.
I agree.
So whether it's semifinal or final, it's never a perfect chance, is it? But then again, to come back to the Prem, I think City has the upper hand. If I'm being honest,
I agree with that. It pains me to say, but I do think that I think what I saw though with City, because like I got insights to City like when Bournemouth played them over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And I think I do stand by this. City defensively this year is not as consistent, not as calm, not as structured as last season. But what I'm seeing more with City this season is they're doing more of these type of unfashionable results. You know, 1-0 win against us, where we had so many chances, but we weren't like the best finishing that day, even though City, again, just that professionalism. 1-0 against Brentford. All these other results where City are just like, they're not playing at the free-flowing high level that they were last season, but they're getting the results. I think Liverpool also have that ability I mentioned before. But I think the problem is, though, with Liverpool's injuries, they don't have those individual star quality players currently that could take them over the line to turn 1 point into a 3-point game. That makes sense.
Yes, I agree. I mean, to kind of counteract that point with a bit of positivity, I find that some of the players at Liverpool have stepped up grandly when they might have been counted out in terms of the starting lineup at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Two players I want to mention in particular.
Sure.
Harvey Elliott and Wataru Endo.
Completely agree. Fantastic.
Wataru Endo coming into the season off of the transfer market from Stuttgart. Obviously, people were disappointed. I was not that Caicedo didn't sign for us. I was like, thank God we did not spend 125 mil on this dude. Like, for real. I was so thankful that didn't happen. And then coming in with Wataru Endo, I watched a lot of Bundesliga. I knew what he could bring.
Yeah.
I knew he has. What I like about him is he plays the 6. He knows how to manage the game very well, but he somehow plays the most unexpected ball or dribble whenever he gets the ball. It almost looks strange at times when he does it. It's weird turns, the ball kind of hobbles here and there, but it is effective because it just catches a lot of the opposing number 10s off guard.
Right.
And his low center of gravity helps him a lot. And so just, I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised at how good it's turned out for him at Liverpool, because it didn't start very well.
Right.
He wasn't included very much.
I find it really impressive because, look, again, I think a very underrated player. At Stuttgart, he was fantastic, you know, and he also was like a big game player. Like, he was when Stuttgart stayed up seasons ago. So I think he's quality, and I think it's just it demonstrates for like it's kudos to Klopp for just like maximizing him in the midfield roles. I think also like players like Curtis Jones who've been sensational this year. Where I did not think he could be at this level. Not saying that I never thought it was bad, but I just didn't think he was at this type of level. And it's just been sensational. So
yeah, and then Harvey Elliott has. I've always liked this player.
Yeah.
Ever since he came in, he's been very courageous in terms of his style of play.
Yeah.
And he plays very vertically. So what I like about him is he's very forward thinking. He likes to play vertical balls into the front end, but he also knows how to manage the game and cut back, play with his right back usually.
Right.
And he just has a very good IQ in terms of the flow of the game. And so it's just he's come in, and if it wasn't for Mo Salah, he should be playing every single minute of every game.
But
Mo Salah is Mo Salah. You're not starting over Mo Salah yet. But Harvey Elliott has stepped up to be knocking on the door of the starting 11 week in, week out.
right, no,
And
completely.
so those two players, despite all the injury problems, they have stepped up a lot. But I do agree with you that it's gotten a bit too much. Now with Gravenberch out for quite a while as well, that midfield is looking very, very bleak in terms of the
Yeah.
options.
It's difficult also because I try to think of. I could generally see a scenario where Liverpool don't lose the game for the rest of the season, but they still come up short just because of, like, a couple too many ties.
Yeah,
Because
that's the problem with cities. They don't draw very much.
that's the thing. City. That's what I find frustrating about cities because they have this knack for. I told you, I really saw it in the Bournemouth game, where I think when they ride their luck a little bit, City, of course, because like our finishing wasn't the best, but they just have this ability where they can literally rely on individual talent to carry as much, and it's really. I remember. Do you remember like the Newcastle game?
Which is strange for a Pep team, you'd think.
I know
It's strange for a Pep team, but that's what's so dangerous about them is because even though it's a team that is focused on collective play, they have the individual capabilities. I'm thinking Kevin De Bruyne here. Like this dude can whip a ball in and look like prime Ozil in a heartbeat.
Right.
So
wow.
yeah, City is so dangerous. I agree.
And it's like I want Liverpool. I'd rather see Liverpool win the Prem. Also, I know maybe there might be Arsenal fans in the comments like, "What about Arsenal?" I don't think Arsenal do it.
Arsenal's been on a very good run of form, but
Yes.
I don't think they're gonna hold it up.
And I'll tell you the reason why. Because unlike Liverpool and City, Arsenal, when they play an off game, they actually don't get the wins. I don't think
Yeah.
so. They can have games. Of course, there's times this season where they've won and they haven't played their best football. Of course, that's expected. But when Arsenal have a mediocre, poor game, they actually end up losing the game or tying the game. That's what I see. Like, they don't get the win. And Liverpool and City, meanwhile, they could be playing like City against Bournemouth. I was defensive; they were not great. I really didn't think so. And I thought offensive they're also struggling. But again, gets the win. Same with Brentford, all these other games. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
for
think
sure.
yeah. So as much as I would love to see Liverpool win the Prem, and I actually had Liverpool winning the Prem like a month ago. I generally thought it's just the injuries, and I have to just because, unfortunately, it's gonna.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with City, but I do still stand by the FA Cup. I actually do think you guys win that based on the draw, but I do.
Yeah. I think Liverpool can still win it, but it's gonna be out of all the four, this is by far gonna be the hardest. By far.
I agree.
Because it like Premier League is a league.
Yeah.
But then all the others are cup tournaments, which Liverpool is quite ideally made for.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the Europa League here
Mm-hmm.
to transition into that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the teams that are remaining in the Europa League.
Yes.
I think looking at these teams, there's it's a really good chance for Liverpool to win this year. It's a really good chance.
I agree, but there's one team.
I know who you're gonna say.
Yes.
I know who you're gonna say.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Mr. Alonso at the helm.
Yes.
You know, undefeated yet this season.
Yes.
I was gonna say the same thing. If there's one team that can do us dirty, that's Leverkusen.
I agree. And the added reason why, because there's also some other teams that shouldn't be slept on. I think Milan, AC Milan is also going to be a very difficult team, but
Yeah, AC Milan's hard, but I find them inconsistent.
I agree.
I find
That's
it
what I
very
was literally
inconsistent.
about to say that. They're inconsistent. Also, defensively, they're not the most thorough. I think that's another issue.
Mhm.
They're not the best
Mhm.
defensively. And I think Liverpool
Yeah.
comes down to that. But Bayer Leverkusen are just the complete team this year. They're just extraordinary to see. I think I'm excited if that happens being like the Europa League final. I'm excited to see just like the wing play with like Frimpong. Oh, and like that's gonna be just fantastic to see the wing back and wing play between like Liverpool's wingers and Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, I know it's gonna. If that is the final, that's gonna be fireworks for sure.
Yeah.
But
Um,
to go back to the topic of can Liverpool win this trophy, I think so. Sparta Prague is a game Liverpool should be winning.
yes, I agree.
Sure. Depending on who you go in, like looking at the rest of the teams apart from Leverkusen, they're all teams that Liverpool is kind of perfectly made up to match up against.
I agree.
So again, the injury problems are obviously bad, but the Europa League is more spread out, so you have more time in between the rounds to get players back fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, hoping Mo Salah gets back in there, Soboslai, Nunez, Thiago's kind of a dead end at this point. Gravenberch is hard to predict. So looking at these teams, man, apart from Liverpool and Leverkusen, I don't really see any of these teams like where you would say are favorites.
No, I agree. I think all the even AC Milan, which I do think are very impressive. Again, I agree they're inconsistent, and then the other teams like Roma, Benfica is not the level, Brighton not the level, it's Marseille not the level, too inconsistent. No, I agree. I think it's either you guys with Bayer Leverkusen. If I'm honest, I do have to shade Leverkusen, and it's not even just because of the fact of how they're unbeaten. I think I just look at that team structurally, and I think if there was a Liverpool Bayer Leverkusen hypothetical matchup, I think the difference I see though is Bayer Leverkusen. How to explain it? Bayer Leverkusen just has this ability where it's like they have much more. How do I say? They have many more players at their disposal that could get them the game-winning goal compared to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? That we've seen so many times.
Right now, yes. Right now, yes.
Of course, that'll change when injuries come back. I completely agree with that. But I still think even with that full-strength Liverpool team, which are very free scoring, it's not about whether they're clinical enough. They're both very clinical teams, very clinical. But Bayer Leverkusen have more of that free range where, if Wirtz is not scoring, then you could have Andrich scoring in the midfield, or Palacios, or Xhaka obviously, or Frimpong, or Stanis.
Let's not forget Grimaldo on the free kick, bro.
Or Grimaldo, I was about to say.
God.
Or Grimaldo on the free kick, which is just mayhem. All these players, and then Boniface when he comes back from injury, because I think he'll probably be back by, let's say, a hypothetical Europa League final. That's my point. I think that's just the fine line. It's going to be an extremely close game, fireworks. It might even go to penalties. I actually could see it right to penalties, but I would shade by Leverkusen on this competition just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my.
So to conclude the podcast episode, I'm saying Liverpool can win the quadruple. I think you're a bit more skeptical about the first two domestic cups. You think they'll win, but the Prem is Man City advantage, and the Europa League is Leverkusen advantage.
Correct. I think Europa League I always felt was by Leverkusen advantage. Prem until the recent injuries, I would have actually said Liverpool. But I think the injuries just a bit too much cost. In a Premier League, what makes even more of a difference because there's so many more games to play, and there's much more consistency. I agree
100%.
But I think
Prem is the one I'm most worried about.
Yeah,
Prem is the one I'm most worried about. But regardless, Liverpool's had a hell of a season. And just can't wait to see what happens next, to be honest with Liverpool, and to see if they can win the quadruple. And so I think this marks the end of this episode.
Correct.
Is it time to expect Liverpool to win the quadruple? Well, you have your answer from us.
Yeah.
If you have any comments, any opposing opinions to either of us, please let us know in the comments. And we'll be back very soon with another episode about a different topic in the footballing world.
Indeed. Well, hopefully some fans also in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinion because I think it's
of course.
Extremely interesting topic. I really do like Liverpool. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I really like this team and I love Klopp. I think it's fantastic. I would like for them to win a quadruple. We'll see if it happens though. But yeah.
We will see. Well, until next time, thank you. Like, comment, and subscribe. And Is It Time is out.
We'll see you guys soon.
See ya.